and the tension kept rising. A young woman, new to her role and full of conviction, made a remark that seemed to ignite a firestorm: "There will be no wokeness here." That single line set off a wave of criticism, most vocally from The View's longtime hosts. Karoline Leavitt, the newly appointed White House press secretary, became a lightning rod. Her debut briefing wasn't even over before commentators like Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg went in for the attack, not on her credentials, but her looks and presumed loyalties. ABC, which had recently shelled out $15 million in a defamation settlement, seemed to have learned nothing. Once again, their top personalities veered into dangerous territory. Instead of analyzing Leavitt's politics, Behar mocked her appearance, repeating the notion that Trump only appointed her because she's a 10. Goldberg suggested that without wokeness, Leavitt wouldn't have the job at all. This condescending rhetoric undermined the entire progressive stance The View often claims to uphold. Leavitt's path to the press podium was anything but shallow. She had been in the political arena for years, working diligently and climbing the ranks with proven skills. But that didn't stop Behar from brushing aside all of it, reducing Leavitt's rise to superficiality. The idea that a successful, intelligent woman was being belittled on national television, by other women, was not just hypocritical, it was stunning. Social media erupted. People from both sides of the political aisle called out the double standard. Would this treatment have been acceptable if a conservative commentator had said the same about a liberal woman? The answer was obvious. The backlash was fierce, and calls for accountability were loud. The same show that prides itself on empowering women had slipped into tearing one down, publicly, needlessly, and cruelly. Leavitt, however, didn't just fire back on Twitter. She filed a defamation lawsuit against Behar and Goldberg, seeking damages in the millions. That legal action sent ABC into crisis mode. The network, already bruised by past controversies, scrambled to assess its next move. Advertisers were jittery. Executives held frantic meetings. The View had become more liability than asset. The apologies, when they came, felt forced. Behar mumbled her regrets. Goldberg offered a stiff, rehearsed statement. Neither seemed heartfelt. The audience could sense the discomfort and disingenuousness. People weren't buying it. Many saw it as a legal maneuver rather than an expression of remorse. It was like watching someone say sorry just to avoid punishment, not because they believed they were wrong. Contributors like Kosha Gada weighed in, highlighting the condescension and the ongoing pattern of conservative women being disrespected in media circles. She pointed out how Goldberg conflated wokeness with civil rights progress, completely misrepresenting Leavitt's original point. There was a disconnect, not just between the hosts and the viewers, but within the very message they were trying to uphold. The contradiction was glaring. The same women who demand respect for women in power were the first to strip that respect from someone who didn't share their political values. And now, ABC had a PR disaster, a lawsuit, and a ratings problem all at once. Rumors swirled that the network was considering drastic changes. Behar was at the top of the list for possible removal. Something had to give. Either the tone of the show would need to evolve, or some of its most entrenched voices would have to go. Meanwhile, Leavitt stayed firm. She didn't just want an apology, she wanted accountability. Her statement from the podium was clear: the press would be held to a higher standard, and misinformation wouldn't go unchecked. She pointed to the lies that had circulated about President Trump and his administration and pledged to correct the record from the inside out. And then came the numbers. Leavitt noted how under President Biden, egg prices had skyrocketed 65%. Her point was sharp and symbolic. Real issues were being ignored in favor of petty politics. The audience began to see it, too. The apology didn't patch anything, it deepened the wound. It confirmed suspicions that the show, and perhaps the network, cared more about appearances than principles. Behind the scenes, tempers flared. Rumors spread that even some of the panelists weren't happy. Alyssa Farah Griffin reportedly pushed for a genuine apology and was angered by how performative it all felt. She wanted ownership of the mistake, not just damage control. But no one wanted to admit fault. Everyone pointed fingers, and no one took responsibility. Leavitt recounted bizarre questions she'd already faced in her short time in office, like being asked if Trump was happy the South lost the Civil War. It was absurd, she said, but not surprising. This was the level of discourse she'd grown used to. Still, she promised transparency and truth, even as she prepared for a hostile press. In private, some reporters admitted they were eager for more access and real dialogue. Leavitt assured them that President Trump would be speaking directly to the people. That was something the public hadn't seen in years, she said. Her role wasn't just about defending the administration, it was about re-establishing trust. Back at ABC, executives faced hard decisions. Ratings were slipping. Lawsuits loomed. The View had become unpredictable, volatile, and at times, damaging. Changes were being considered. And as Leavitt's lawsuit moved forward, it became clear, this wasn't going to be quietly swept under the rug. The stakes were high. The old rules didn't apply anymore. And for The View, the fallout had just begun.